Alright, Trekkies and Trekkers, time for the second episode of the day, which is Sons of Mogh. Worf and Jadzia Dax are on Holosuite engaging in a Klingon training exercise. Worf eventually forces Dax to surrender, and then they flirtatiously discuss the various advantages and disadvantages of Klingon battle weapons, such as the Batleth and the Mek'leth. Just as the flirting is getting serious, Odo interrupts Worf through his combat to alert him that an intoxicated Klingon is out to see Worf in Airlock 5. Worf responds that he's on his way and exits the Holosuite. The intoxicated Klingon who has just arrived on Deep Space Nine is none other than Kurn, Worf's brother, with whom he has not spoken in quite some time. Worf berates Kurn that he has not responded to any of his brother's attempts to contact him in the interim. Kurn then asks Worf to restore his honor by killing him at the Mogh Tovar ritual. Kurn and Worf are in Worf's quarters. Worf gives Kurn some liquid to help his headache from his prior intoxication. Kurn then complains that the quarters are far too comfortable for a Klingon, and he then ridicules Worf for attempting, once again, to defend the Federation. Kurn tells Worf that he has not contacted him in 4 months because he was busy salvaging the remnants of the brothers' family house, the House of Mogh. Worf says that he regrets that because he opposed Gowron, he has brought disgrace on his family's house. But Kurn sees his apologies and regrets as mere human weaknesses the Worf has acquired since he's lived among humans for so long. Worf tells Kurn that he cannot fight with the Klingons against the Federation because it would have been dishonorable. Kurn says that instead of bringing dishonor on Starfleet and the Federation, Worf chose to bring dishonor down upon his own family's house. Kurn tells Worf that the House of Mogh has lost its seat on the Klingon Council because Worf chose to take the side of the Federation against the Klingon Empire. In response, Gowron also took all of the property belonging to their house. As a result, Kurn fiercely tells Worf that now Worf has everything he wanted, and Kurn has nothing, not even his honor. But Worf can give Kurn his honor back by killing him in the Mogh Tovar ritual. Since Worf is the one who took away Kurn's honor, only Worf can give his honor back to him through an honorable death. Chief O'Brien and Major Kira are aboard the Veterans Runabout Yukon, returning from their inspection tour of the Bajoran colonies along the Cardassian border. They notice a high-energy discharge just before they enter Bajoran space, and they suspect that the cloaked ship may have exploded. They decide to investigate further and begin to approach the site of the explosion. The Klingon bird of prey decloaks in front of their path and informs them that the Klingons are conducting military training exercises in the area and orders Runabout to return to Bajoran space immediately. Kira explains that they are investigating the explosion that just occurred, but the Klingons warn them that they have received their only warning and that they should leave immediately. O'Brien and Kira decide to return to Deep Space Nine, but they're suspicious that there's much more going on in the area than simply military exercises. In Quark's, Jadzia asks Quark if he has seen Worf, since Worf is late for the Holosuite appointment, and Worf is never late. Quark appears to be upset with Worf, and explains to Jadzia that earlier that morning, Worf came to the bar and ordered some Klingon incense, known as Ajani, and nearly threw Quark over the bar when Quark tried to give him replicated incense. Dex wonders aloud why Worf would need the incense. In Worf's quarters, Worf and Kurn are preparing to perform the Mogh Tovar ritual so that Kurn can die an honorable death on battlefield of Stovokor, the Klingon version of heaven. On our way to Worf's quarters, Dax turns to Odo and asks him who the Klingon was that Worf met in the airlock the day before. Odo tells her that it was Kurn, Worf's brother. With this information, Dax realizes Worf was planning to do with the incense, and she and Odo hurry to Worf's quarters to attempt to prevent the ritual from succeeding. Worf stabs Kurn with a ritual knife, but Dax and Odo arrive at Worf's quarters in time to beam Kurn to the infirmary and save his life. In his office, Captain Sisko asks Worf why he should not put him on the next transport out of Deep Space Nine. Worf acknowledges that his actions were in violation of Starfleet regulations and call it as premeditated murder under Federation law. But Dax attempts to explain to Sisko the origins of the Mogh Tovar ritual. Sisko interrupts that he is not concerned with Klingon beliefs, and that although he has permitted some leeway to both Dax and Worf in the past concerning Klingon tradition, this ritual crosses the line and will not be permitted to occur under any circumstances. Taking over for Worf, Dax assures Sisko that there are other ways to settle the family problems of the Sons of Mogh, and that of course this will never happen again. Sisko then angrily orders Dax and Worf to get out of his office. Later, in the Rebel Med, Major Kira and Chief O'Brien are explaining to Sisko the strange encounter they had earlier on the runabout, and their suspicions that more than military exercises are occurring in in an area very close to, although outside of, Bajoran airspace. Sisko appears to share their suspicions, and he tells Carrie and O'Brien to take the USS Defiant to run a sensor sweep of the coordinates where the explosion occurred. Kira asks Sisko what she should do if she runs into the Klingons, and Sisko tells her to say that the Defiant is conducting military exercises according to interstellar agreements. Sisko also tells Kira to keep Worf informed of the situation, but under no circumstances is Worf to accompany them on the Defiant. O'Brien tries to defend Worf, but Sisko quickly cuts him off and refuses to hear any more excuses for Worf's behavior. In the infirmary, Dr. Tree informs Worf that Kurn's condition is stable. As Kurn wakes up, he's surprised and dismayed to find that he is still alive. Worf explains to the jets they have figured out what they were doing and have Kurn beamed to the infirmary. Kurn regrets that he's not yet in Sto-vo-kor and is anxious to see their father again. Worf assures Kurn that their father still waits for them, and it's just not yet time for Kurn to join him. Although Worf claims it was not his decision to leave the ritual unfinished, Kurn points out that when Dax and Odo burst into Worf's quarters, he did not try to fight them at all, and that Worf could complete the ritual right there in the infirmary if he chose. Kurn says that for only a moment in Worf's quarters, Worf is truly Klingon, but that Worf's life in the Federation has claimed him again, and is now claiming Kurn as well. Dax goes to Worf's quarters to apologize for preventing the completion of the ritual and interfering in a family matter. Worf says that she was following her conscience and that it is an honorable motive, but Dax acknowledges that it's not an honorable motive from the Klingon perspective. Dax offers help in any way she can, and says that in the short term, Kurn can stay on Deep Space Nine. Worf says Kurn stays on the station, he'll need a job, and Dax is just security. Although Worf doubts that Kurn will be interested in joining Starfleet, Dax suggests that he try Odo's Bajoran security detail. After reading Kurn's service record, Odo asks Worf if his brother knows how to use a stun setting on a disruptor. The Worf admits that non-lethal techniques are emphasized in Klingon training. Odo nonetheless says he gives Kurn a job as a deputy as a favor to Worf. Odo reminds Worf that he is a man who collects on his debts. Odo is observing Kurn in the cargo bay as Kurn expects the cargo of a Baltic freighter that's just arrived at the station. Worf, under the guise of bringing a message to Odo from Starfleet Command, comes to check on how his brother's doing in his new job as a deputy. Odo assures Worf that Kurn is strict, but is doing a fine job. Kurn tells Worf that he hates his uniform. He's accepting his transition into the position of Bajoran security officer. On the bridge of the Defiant, Karen O'Brien observes sensor readings indicate that cloaked ships have passed through the area in the past 24 hours. Just then, another explosion occurs. This time they see it as a Vorcha-class Klingon cruiser. The cruiser is obviously damaged, and Kira attempts to contact them to see if they need assistance. The Klingon responds that their ship is the IKS Jovana, that they do not require assistance, and that Defiant should leave the area immediately and not approach their ship. The Jovana then requests access to Defiant's medical facilities. Kira responds that Defiant's medical facilities are very limited, but she offers to tow the Klingon ship to Deep Space Nine. After really conferring with an unknown source, the Klingon ship accepts the offer. Odo informs Worf he is confident Kurn has had a serious accident and the Worf should come to the infirmary immediately. Odo tells Worf that Kurn discovered a container of contraband on a Boslik freighter, and when he confronted the Boslik captain about it, Kurn allowed himself to be shot by the captain's disruptor, even though Kurn could have easily disarmed him. Odo says that security officer with the death wish is a safety hazard for the entire station, and informs Worf that Kurn is relieved. Bashir tells Worf that Kurn should make a full recovery again, and asks Worf if he would like to see him. Worf confronts Kurn about what happened, but Kurn's only response is that Worf is the elder brother, and that Kurn will obey whatever Worf tells him to do. Dr. Spear informs senior staff of the wardroom that any injuries from those aboard the Jovana were consistent with the explosion of a starship, and specifies that their ship was hit by a photon torpedo. Dax points out that the torpedo would have left an ion trail, and the Defiant didn't pick up any ion trails in the vicinity of the explosion. Karen said that Jovana was cloaked when it exploded, and that even Klingon vessels can't track vessels to aim their torpedoes when they are cloaked. Worf then correctly deduces that Jovana must have hit a cloaked mine. The rest of the staff worries that, since cloaked mines are untraceable, there could be thousands of undetectable mines in and around the Bajoran system. Bashir comments that mining a system is an act of war, and expresses surprise that the Klingons would take such a risk at this point. Sisko says it can't yet prove that the mines even exist, but if there is a war, the minds won't enable the Klingons to cut out deep space nine the type Jordan system for the rest of the Alpha Quadrant. To find the mines, they would need their exact coordinates. Kira surmised that the Dravana probably has that information on their ship's computer, if only they could get access to them. Worf claims to have an idea how they could get the coordinates. Worf attempts to convince Kurn to help him carry his plan by arguing that by acting contrary to their treaty with Federation, the Klingon Empire has acted dishonorably, and to go against this minefield operation of the Empire would actually be the more honorable plan of action. Kurn confirms that he opposed the decision to withdraw from the Khitomer Accords when he was on the council because Gowron underestimates the Federation, but the Kurn was ultimately overruled. Worf implores Kurn to help him, not for his sake or the Federation's sake, but to prevent the Empire from becoming embroiled in a war that they cannot win. Worf points out although their people have turned their backs on them, the brothers have not turned their backs on the Empire, and the Sons of Mogh could be the very ones to save their people from certain defeat. In the infirmary, Worf and Kurn undergo surgical alterations to do with their appearance and their DNA signatures to try to pass themselves off as officers of the Dravana. Kurn and Worf successfully beam onto the Dravana and enter the main bridge. Using his inside knowledge of High Council security measures, Kurn accesses the database that contains the coordinates of the mines. A Klingon lieutenant enters the bridge and inquires of Worf and Kurn what Worf and Kurn are doing on the bridge. Worf and Kurn look at each other, contemplating their next move. Kurn states that he is completing a diagnostic of the navigational controls, but the lieutenant implies that he has not been informed of any computer problems. He does not appear to be convinced. Worf claims to be Commander Soval, son of Mtorka, but the lieutenant is still not convinced. As the lieutenant appears to back down and try to leave the bridge, Kurn pulls his sword and kills the lieutenant. Worf attempts to see what Kurn has done and asks whether it was necessary. However, Kurn reveals the lieutenant was holding a knife in his hand, and if that had Kurn had not fired first, the lieutenant would have killed Worf. Kurn expresses regret and dishonor for killing an officer who was only doing his duty to defend the Empire. After Worf and Kurn acquired the detonation codes for each mine from the Giovanna's computer, everyone meets in the wardroom to listen to their report. Afterward, Kira and O'Brien leave for the Defiant to detonate the remainder of the mines. After everyone else leaves the wardroom, Worf expresses his niece to Dax about killing the Klingon officer. Although it was self-defense, Worf was most distressed because he did not realize that the officer was about to kill him, even when he was looking into the officer's eyes, but Kurn saw it from 3 meters away. He fears that Kurn was right. The Worf has lived with humans for so long that he no longer thinks like a Klingon. Although Worf had always thought he could either live among humans or return to the Empire, he now realizes he can never go back to the Empire. He is a Starfleet officer, and that will have to be enough. But Kurn does not even have Starfleet, and says he is no longer welcome in the Empire. Worf worries what will become of Kurn. Worf cannot bring himself to attempt the Moktober ritual again, as now he can see it as humans do, as murder. Jadzia then suggests that maybe Worf can kill Kurn without really killing him. On the Defiant, Kira and O'Brien are preparing to destroy the minefield. They will attempt to warn all Klingon vessels in the air to leave immediately or risk being damaged when the mines are detonated, but no ships respond. O'Brien detonates one of the mines on Kira's command, but still nothing happens. Then detonate many of the remaining mines simultaneously, prompting several Klingon ships to decloak and leave the area like flushing quail, heading straight for the Klingon Empire. Worf enters his quarters and discovers that Kurn is heavily intoxicated and has been contemplating suicide, a discernible death under Klingon tradition which would prevent him from entering Stovall Corps. Kurn expresses regret that he and Worf were not raised together, regardless if it had been on Kronos or Earth, to which Worf agrees. Kurn tells Worf that, in his own way, Worf is an honorable man, before passing out. Worf then assures sleepy Kurn that he will be an honorable man again, but not as Worf's brother. Bashir prepares to surgically alter Kurn's physical appearance and genetic makeup, completely erasing his memory, so that Kurn can have a new identity, a new family, and his honor can be restored. After Dr. Bashir warns Worf that Kurn will have no memories of his past life, including no memories of Worf, and only retain the most basic skills to exist among Klingons, Worf orders the surgery to proceed. A friend of Worf's father, Nogra, has agreed to take Kurn as his own son, Rodak. Nogra arrives and tells Kurn/Rodak that he was hit by a plasma discharge on their shuttle, and as a result, he has lost his memory and may never regain it at all. Kurn/Rodak is now a member of House Nogra, and Nogra promises to use Kurn/Rodak all that he has forgotten when they get home. As Kurn/Rodak leaves the infirmary, he asks Worf if he is part of his family. Worf replies that he has no family. Worf then leaves the Bug side of Promenade alone, knowing that he has cut his final tie with the Klingon Empire. Oh, poor Worf. So anyway, let's take a look at one little bit of continuity here. The exchange between Worf and Kurn concerning the comfort of his quarters echoes a similar conversation from Kurn's first appearance in Next Generation, Sins of the Father. So overall, yeah, this is a really, really emotional episode, and yeah, it's kind of sad that after this we never see Kurn ever again. So yeah. So overall, I give Sons of Mogh 5 warp cores out of 5. Anyway, tune in as we take a look at the final episode of the day, Bar Association. So, until then, live long and prosper, everybody.